Good afternoon. Hi, everyone. Thank you very much for joining us in this webinar, How to Write an Effective Personal Statement, as part of British Council's Culture Connects Us online festival. I hope you are all in good health, and for those of you who are fasting, I wish you a good fasting day. My name is Lisa from the British Council. I will moderate today's session, and we are very pleased to have Miss Vikki Wilson, Regional Manager Southeast Asia from University of York, as our speaker today. So before we start, I will read the house rules for this webinar. As you can see in your screen, the speaker already here. So if you have any questions, please type your questions in the Q&A feature below. So there's a box of Q&A. Please type there. So I will summarize the question, and then I will give it to the speaker. So after the session ends, you will be redirected to the questionnaire. Please spend your time to give your feedback, which is your feedback will be valuable for us for the next future events. So this session is being video recorded. By attending this session, you acknowledge that your image and comments may be recorded and rebroadcast. Okay, I would like to invite Vikki to share your presentation.
Thank you very much. Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining us today. I'll just get my screen ready to start the presentation. Okay, so welcome everyone. Today I'm going to give you an overview of writing an effective personal statement and to try and help you with your applications for universities in the UK. So the first thing that's very important before you start writing any application, including your personal statement, is that you do your research. So you have a look at the universities, see what subject areas they offer and what their specialism is. You look at the module content to see what the course is about and not just the course title. In the UK, we're very lucky to have a lot of large, good quality universities that offer a wide range of courses. So for example, if you want to do a subject such as management, there'd be many universities that would offer this subject, but all of the courses might be slightly different depending on that university specialism. So it's make sure that you pick a course that's tailored to exactly what you're looking for before you start your application. Also, one final point is just to make sure you check the entry requirements. You must be academically eligible to be accepted onto the course, and you don't want to spend your time doing an application that you're not going to be accepted to. So just make sure you double check that as well. Also, when you're doing your research, please remember it's not just about the academic side of things. You will be spending a significant amount of time living in the UK, living in your chosen city. So you need to make sure you find a city or a place in the UK that you would be comfortable. So are you looking for more of a campus-based university or a city-based? What accommodation options are there? What kind of sports and social activities can you get involved in to make sure you're just as comfortable living somewhere as you are studying there as well? You can find out all of the answers to these questions through lots of online events. Many universities offer these throughout the year. They have things like prospectuses. You can speak to current students through a lot of online chats with universities, and you can also contact academic departments directly as well. So again, make sure you do your research so you have all the information you need before you start this application. So is the personal statement important for your application? Well, the short answer is yes, absolutely. So a good personal statement can mean the difference between you getting an offer or being rejected for a course. It's your opportunity to make you stand out from the thousands and thousands of applications that universities receive each year for their courses. And it's also how we get to know you. Unfortunately, it's not possible for us to meet every single one of you individually as much as we'd like to. So your personal statement is our only opportunity to see who you are and what you have to offer the university. So what is a personal statement? So a personal statement comes with every application, whether you're studying and applying for an undergraduate course, a postgraduate master's course, or even a research course. So it's a piece of writing about your background and shows us why you're a good candidate for the course. It includes things like your academic interests, your achievements, what skill sets you've developed over your time, any extracurricular activities you've been involved in, whether this is on a voluntary, on a paid basis, and also what your future career plans are. We're interested in everything that you've done in the past, but also where you look and what you're hoping to achieve in the future as well. So where do you start constructing this piece of writing? Well, the key thing really is to sort of think it through and start planning. So here are some questions that you might want to start thinking about before you write your personal statement. So it's things like, why do you want to study your chosen subject? Sort of what interests you in that subject? What skill set have you developed and will allow you to fit your course in the future? What relevant experience do you have? This could be paid or voluntary. Again, it doesn't have to be necessarily work experience, although that is something that's definitely worth including if you have it. It could be something about any projects that you've been involved in. It could be sort of any community things that you've been part of. Also, do you have any relevant awards or achievements? So again, this could be anything that's through your school, through your current university, or again, outside in any other activities that you've been involved in. We're also keen for you to think about what you're aspiring to be or what do you want to do in your future career. So we're interested that there is possibly a thought plan of you want to do this degree, so it will help you to achieve your future career goals, and just telling us what they might be. And finally, this last one, this is quite an important thing to remember. Often students do forget about this final point. And we're also looking at how you're going to contribute to the university and to the department first of all. So we're looking for students who are academically strong and have sort of a wide range of experience. But at universities in the UK, we have a very rich sort of community, and we want students that are going to contribute to that, whether that's getting involved in societies, our volunteering projects, leadership programs. So we want to know sort of how involved you would want to be. And also it's about what you might want to contribute to society. So again, whether that's society in the UK during your time studying with us, or whether that's society in your future career or when you choose your next country to live in. So when you're thinking about all these questions and writing your ideas down, it's very important with the level of detail and how you present this information to us. So we like to sort of visualize and demonstrate this through two different ways. So whether you provide us with information or achievement-based context. So we do want to know about what you learned and what you gained from that experience, not just what you did. So we were looking for all of those well-rounded skills and sort of all of that experience and how that has changed you as a person and all of the sort of things it's given you. So this is a very basic example, but I hope it illustrates to you what I mean by this. So if someone presents us with information, it might be something like a list. So I played cricket, rugby, tennis, football, and lots of other sports. That's great. I now know that you're fabulous and very interested in sport, but it doesn't really tell me what you learned from that, what skills you have associated with that. So another example might be someone writing something like, I've been a manager for the last 2 years at a large company in Indonesia. Well, that's great. I'm really pleased that you have that experience, but what have you gained from that? What have you learned from that? What was your actual role? What was your responsibilities? So it's providing us with that level of information. So in the achievement orientated example, it kind of puts all of that together. So it's things around, I captained my local cricket team, I organised a series of matches, I delivered advertising posters, which introduced a ticketing system, and I raised some money. So it kind of shows me in that you captain the team, so you have leadership skills and leadership responsibilities. You organise matches, so you have experience of organisational skills and possibly time management. You used your initiative to design posters and introduce a ticketing system. And obviously raising some money would help you contribute back to the team, which is a good contribution you've made to society. So you can kind of see the difference hopefully between these two things, and it's the level of information that we need. Also, another top tip is to make sure you don't use the same example twice. So often we find that people do use the same example twice, which is not the best idea because we've already gained everything we need to know from that. So try and think of as many different examples as you can when answering the questions from the previous slides. So the structure, how are you going to put all of this together? So the structure for undergraduate and postgraduate personal statements is slightly different. So for undergraduate students, you have to apply through UCAS in the UK, and this application form restricts you to 500 words for your personal statement. So that's not a lot of words, which is why I said don't use the same example and try and be very concise with your points. We recommend that you divide this up between about 60 to 70% academic focus, so why you want to do the course, what skills and achievements and experience you have around that subject area, and then around 30 to 40% on extracurricular activities. So what you've done outside of studying, what things you're interested in, but again, what skills and experience you have from that as well. Also to remember with the undergraduate one is you can only write one UCAS. You have one UCAS application, sorry, so you write one personal statement. So it's very important in that statement that you don't be specific about a university or a city. So for example, if you applied to the University of York and another university in the UK, each university would see the same personal statement. So if you wrote a sentence such as, I'm very excited to study at the University of York because I've read so much about it, other universities would see that and wouldn't give them a very good impression. So again, don't be too specific about a university or a city. For postgraduate students, again, you have a word limit. It's usually between 500 and 1,000 words. But again, this is where research is very important and you should check the university websites for more detail. Each university may have slightly different requirements for a personal statement, but also each course within that university might have slightly different requirements. So an example would be at the University of York, some of our science courses require around 500 words, but some of our more arts and humanities courses require 1,000-word personal statement. So again, do that research so that you don't make that mistake with your application. Also, with postgraduate, you can write a personal statement for each application that you make. So this is a great opportunity for you to tailor your personal statement to the course and the university that you are applying to. So again, that research is very important to make sure that you are matching your personal statement to that exact course and university. Also, it's important to remember that you will need to plan and you probably will need to do several drafts. So with this in mind, please don't leave your personal statement writing to the last minute, the day before you want to submit your application. Please try and start at least a couple of weeks in advance so you can do a few drafts and really, really get that application perfect. So how are you going to sort of start putting all of this together? So I just have now some sort of examples to see how you might start this process. So this one is more of a undergraduate focused one, but also is relevant for postgraduate in terms of developing that skill set. So if you're applying for a subject like economics, you will have taken maths either at high school or as some maths content in your undergraduate degree. And the skills that you develop from studying maths are things like analytical skills, problem-solving skills, methodological logic. So again, it allows you to identify the skills that you've gained just from studying that subject. And how is this relevant to studying an economics course? So it gives you the ability to take a systematic and methodical approach to complex problems. And how might that help you in the future? Well, this person wants to work in a financial environment in investment banking. So as you can see, we've got the course that you want, the subject, the skills that you've developed from that subject, how it's relevant to the course, and how this is going to help you in the future. So you can start to build up that kind of achievement-focused statement to put into your personal statement. So here is another example. So someone that's been studying English and history, and again, it's helped them develop analytical and critical thinking skills. It allows them to express arguments clearly. So again, it's showing us the skills they've got and how that will help them in a course that they want to apply to. And again, sort of studying maths, as I mentioned earlier, this is sort of how you would start to put that into a sentence from the skills that have been identified in the previous slide. So it allows you to sort of structure a paragraph that would allow you to put that into your application. So what we want you to do as well is sort of demonstrate how you've gone beyond the syllabus. So how you've looked at this subject, not just from an academic point of view and what you had to do either in the classroom at school or at the classroom at university, but how you've gone beyond that. So for example, this student has demonstrated that for history of art that they're applying to, they've always had an interest in that, and this is their particular area of interest. So it shows us that they understand the subject area and that there's a period in time that they're particularly interested in. They've also demonstrated enthusiasm and how they've gone above the curriculum by going to local exhibitions in that area. And they've also read works by famous academics in that subject field. And then again, they've just put all that together to show us that it's relevant to their course, because it allows them to sort of build their knowledge base and view of how art and things works in that field. So again, it's just another example of how we can start to pull this together. So this is another example of someone that's sort of demonstrating to us why they're interested in that particular subject and how they have sort of developed that. So this person has experience of a family member with Parkinson's disease, and that's really triggered their passion. So they've given us the context of why they're interested in that particular area. And they talk a little bit about their experience and sort of the things that they witnessed through that, and that the sort of psychological processes and the cognitive abilities of the person really interested them. And then they've shown in the last paragraph that they found themselves sort of questioning sort of how this worked, why it worked, and wanted to develop more of an understanding on this process. So all of these points have shown me that they sort of have a deep understanding of how this works, wanting to find out more in the future in order to sort of have a positive effect on society for their future career. So again, this is another example for someone that wants to study psychology, and again they've shown me how their relevant work experience has enabled them to develop that interest. So they've demonstrated that their passion for psychology stems from an interest in how dementia affects the personalities of patients. So they've told me about a gap year that they've done working with the Alzheimer's Society, supporting patients, and how this has sort of given them experience in working with families and carers as well. So again, it's just starting to build that picture to sort of demonstrate how their work experience is relevant, but also telling us what work experience they've done. So another example of this is for a postgraduate course, and this would be an example for a course like an MBA or a leadership program. So again, rather than just telling me that they have held a management role at a company, they've given me an example. So it talks about leading a diverse team of individuals with varied professional backgrounds and communication styles, and that their team has sort of competing priorities and experience levels and motivation. So they're setting the background of sort of demonstrating the level of experience that they have. And then they've talked about a challenge that they had to overcome. So they had to ensure that the team worked on common goals and shared objectives. And then what they learned from this is to balance multiple perspective and skill sets is vital in order to achieve team goals. So they talked about their experience, the challenge that they had to overcome, but then most importantly, what they learned from that to sort of demonstrate their understanding of the subject area that they're wanting to study. So this is also an example of sort of career ambitions. So I talked about this before, that we were keen to see sort of why people want to study a subject for their future plans. Again, if you're not 100% sure what your career goal is for an exact job, that's fine. But if you kind of have a sense of the area that you might want to go into. So this particular person is hoping to pursue a career with an organisation that changes the status quo and seeks to promote social change. So the best subject for them is social and political sciences. So again, they've talked about how it will allow them to gain the skills and expertise they need to raise awareness of current issues through managing campaigns, giving them the knowledge and understanding to challenge government policies and ensure policies are made in a way that's inclusive and for the greater good of everyone. So again, this is a perfect example of sort of what they want to do and how this course is going to help them achieve their future goals. So I have given you quite a few examples of sort of different ways that you can structure your personal statement and how you can get that level of detail into what is quite a short piece of writing. But like I say, the top tips are really what's going to help you with this. So make sure you do start early and do several drafts. Once you start answering those questions that I mentioned in the earlier slide, you may find that you have 6, 7, 8 different examples. They may be too much, but that's fine. You can start your drafts, you can work out which are your strongest examples, and then eventually your piece of work will start to come together. Again, make sure you do your research and ask questions, whether that's to someone in the institution or any of your sort of school counsellors, friends, colleagues, anyone else. So make sure the application that you put in is for the right course you want to do, and make sure the personal statement is tailored to the course and subject area you're wanting to study. Now, this is an absolute must. You must get a second opinion and get someone to proofread your personal statement. Often when you're writing something over and over again, it's very easy to not be able to spot things like spelling mistakes, punctuation mistakes, or even where you have used the same example twice without realising it. So please do get a second opinion just to make sure there's none of those small mistakes. And finally, it's really important sort of not to waste any of the words. As I demonstrated, you know, personal statements are quite short, so please don't repeat anything that's already written in your application. So for example, your grades and your academic achievements will already be listed in a separate section of your application. So there's no need to tell us your grades in your personal statement, for example. So again, just having someone double check that application all the way through will just help you make sure that you don't make any of those mistakes. So thank you very much for your time. I hope you found that helpful, and I would be pleased to answer any questions.
Thank you, Vikki. That's really helpful. So yeah, we have questions from the audience. So first one would be related to the personal statement for postgraduate. So tips on what should I write in my personal statement. So I want to apply graduate school, which is not directly related to my previous study and experience.
Okay, great. So the first thing I would recommend is do double check the entry requirements and just make sure that you would be qualified for that course. Like I say, you don't want to waste your time. Secondly, I think it's important for you to demonstrate why you're changing that subject area. So, for example, if you've maybe studied something like engineering in the past, but you want to move on to a more management focus, I assume that would be because there's a career progression reason there, that you're wanting to advance your career and develop that. So you need to explain to us why you've chosen to change your subject. And then the second thing is largely what I talked about in the presentation, is the skill set. Someone that's worked in engineering will have a very good skill set, for example, and you need to identify all of those skills. So whether that's sort of problem-solving skills, leadership skills, anything like that, and show us how you can apply those skills to a different subject area. So again, it's showing that why you want to change and what skills you have to do that.
Okay, the next question related to the undergraduate personal statement. What if my personal statement have to cater for different courses? Any tips would be same?
I get asked this question all the time because a lot of students, particularly at undergraduate level, really struggle with knowing exactly which course they want to do. Well, so I think the first point I'm going to make is that if you're not sure on exactly which subject, you need to go back to the research stage. So for example, if you can't decide between, let's say, mathematics and music, they are very different fields. So you need to just stop, take some time, go back, think about what you want to do, why you want to do it, where your skill set is, and try and choose a subject, you know, your subject decision from that. If it's something a bit more similar, like maybe something like criminology and law, which is a fairly similar subject, then that's okay. You may apply, for example, to law at some universities, criminology and law at other universities. So again, it's kind of talking about sort of why you want to do that subject area, what you might hope to do in the future, what experience you have related to that kind of field. But I think the key is to sort of not talk about, you know, any course titles. So for example, don't write something like, I really want to study law and criminology, you know, Bachelor of Arts, if you're not applying for a law and criminology course at every university. So it's just talking about why you're interested in those subject areas, and again, the skill set that matches that.
Okay. So is it all right to say a thing about our failure, but we do learn our lesson?
Yes, again, I think that's a very good question, and also a very good example. So if, for example, your grades demonstrate that maybe at some point in your academic career, your grades weren't as strong and you have improved on that in the future, then I think that's a very good example to use to demonstrate, first of all, to explain why they may not have been so strong in the future, but also what you have done to change that to make theirs a better situation. So we're really keen on students that are able to identify where things have gone wrong or what they need to do to improve, and then action that. So I think it's better to almost mention that and talk about it rather than hope that we won't notice, because we do read every application all the way through, so we will notice. And if there's an explanation for that, that's fine.
Okay, so next question related to the postgraduate personal statement. Do we have to write our personal statement in a way that makes it sound interesting, or is it better to fit as much achievement as possible?
Oh, that's a very interesting question. I think the personal statement is an opportunity for you to show the very best version of yourself and everything that you have achieved. So the best thing is to show yourself off as best you can of everything you have done. And don't worry about making it sort of funny or, you know, kind of in that sense, you know, in the nicest possible way. You're not there to make the admission tutors laugh. You're just there to show them the very best version of yourself.
Okay. So the next question related to the PhD program. So your suggestion to write personal statement for PhD program, how many words that suits the best?
Yeah, so PhD obviously is slightly different because you will, first of all, have a research proposal which will have to go with that. But for your personal statement, again, you have to do your research. So each university will publish on their website what they are looking for their personal statement in terms of how many words, and also if there is a particular structure for the PhD personal statement. So again, for example, at the University of York, we do have slightly different word lengths for PhD. So some are around the 500 to 700 mark, some are more sort of 700 to 1,000. So again, that's where the research is very important, because if they request 1,000 words and you write 500, your application is not going to be successful from the start, no matter what you've written in that personal statement.
Okay, thank you, Vikki. So next question, yeah, we have so many questions. With us. So what should I write in the beginning of personal statement if it's related to the university and ourselves?
Yeah, this is a very popular question, and it's probably one of the hardest to answer because starting any piece of writing is the most difficult thing to do. So again, you don't really want to talk about the specific university. So my advice is start writing all of those different examples down, so you have a range of paragraphs demonstrating whether that's your achievements, your skill set, why you're interested in that subject. And then you'll probably naturally find that one of them is a good opening, whether it's something along the lines of, you know, my experience, you know, my work experience has taught me, or my interest in this subject developed from my experience of, or through studying this subject undergraduate, my interest has developed. You'll just find that it'll naturally come. So don't try and force yourself to write that first paragraph to begin with. Write all of your examples, start with multiple different paragraphs, and one will naturally just seem like a good thing to start with.
Okay, so yeah, we still have time for questions and answers. Yeah. So Vikki, next one, which one more important? Good CV or personal statement?
I think they are both important. I think a CV, again, is always just a summary. So the CV is kind of a good example of where you just list everything that you've done. But the personal statement is really where you put the detail into that. So you explain not only what you've done, but like I said, what skills you have, what you've learned from that, sort of what your future ambitions are. So the CV needs to be accurate. Obviously, make sure that it's truthful and accurate. But I would say the personal statement is where you really need to focus on the detail and really gives you the chance to tell us all about yourself. So both are important, but I would focus on the personal statement in terms of time more.
Okay. So, and what about how do we avoid cliche?
Yes, again, this is very difficult, and I think the first bit of advice I would give is to not read anyone else's personal statement beforehand, because sometimes people think, oh, I'll ask a friend or someone else that's written one just to get an idea of what to write. But I think if they have used some cliches, for example, then you sort of subconsciously sometimes would add them in as well. Also, again, like I said before, it's about writing those paragraphs. So demonstrating what example am I going to use? What is this going to show? And just talk about yourself. And like I said, don't sort of read too much in advance, in terms of examples online or examples of what other people have done. Just write expressing yourself, and then hopefully you'll avoid that type of thing.
Okay. So we're running out of time, but one question, last question. How will a good personal statement be a support to our poor achievement, to our poor grades?
Yeah, see, this is another popular question. So the first thing I'd say is if your grades are not quite what you hoped they would be or lower than you feel you could achieve, again, there's an opportunity in the personal statement to explain why that might be the case. The personal statement allows you to demonstrate, like say, things other than grades. So skill set, experience, particularly if it's for a postgraduate course, that work experience can really add value if your grades are not as strong, because universities are really looking for people to demonstrate, real life experience, tried and tested skill sets. But to be honest, it really does depend on the subject. Sometimes the academic grades are there to make sure that you're going to be able to achieve your very best on whichever course you've chosen. It would be very unfair for a university to allow you to join a course if they felt that you wouldn't be academically strong enough to achieve your very best. So it can support you if grades are slightly lower. And again, it would be really emphasizing the experience and the skill set that you have.
Okay, thank you very much, Vikki, and all participants. So after this session, we will share the presentation via email. So the Culture Connects Us online festival will run until May 17. So today at 4 p.m. there will be another session about how to develop an ACV with the University of Manchester. And tomorrow we're going to have a session on Industry 4.0, what it is and why it matters for students at 3 p.m. with the presenters from 2 leading UK universities, co-founder Inspigo, co-founder ThinkWeb, and Prudential. Follow our Instagram at IDBritish to get more updates. Thank you very much. Thank you, Vikki. Bye-bye.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you. Bye-bye.